Most people think karma is a mystical punishment, some invisible force waiting to strike you down. But here's the shocking truth: according to Carl Jung, your so-called karmic debt isn't punishment at all. It's your own unconscious, replaying the same wounds, the same toxic cycles, until you finally wake up. Think about it. That relationship that always ends the same way. That career path that keeps collapsing just when you thought you had it figured out. That quiet ache inside you that never seems to leave. These aren't random misfortunes. They are signs, signals, that your soul is stuck paying off a debt you didn't even know you owed. But here's where it gets powerful. Jung believed that once you face these hidden lessons, the chains break. Life doesn't just improve, it transforms. The heaviness lifts. Patterns dissolve. And something extraordinary happens: synchronicities flood your path, toxic cycles disappear, and a deeper life purpose begins to call your name. In this video, we're going beyond surface spirituality. You'll learn the real psychological signs that your karmic debt has been paid, and how to recognize the moment when your soul finally breaks free. Stay with me, because what you discover today might just change the way you see your entire life. We all carry invisible weights. Some call it bad luck, others call it destiny, but Jung had a sharper word for it: karma. Not in the mystical, otherworldly sense, but as the unfinished business of the psyche. Karmic debt is the echo of unresolved wounds, the shadows we never faced, the lessons life keeps throwing back at us until we learn. Picture this: a man who leaves one toxic relationship, only to walk blindly into another just like it. A woman who rises in her career again and again, only to sabotage herself right before the breakthrough. These aren't coincidences. These are cycles, the unconscious repeating itself, dragging us back into the same fire until we finally see the flames for what they are. Jung believed that what we refuse to confront within will shape our reality without. That is karmic debt. It isn't punishment, it's a mirror. And until you face what the mirror shows, you will keep running in circles, mistaking fate for bad fortune. But here's the promise: once you uncover the meaning behind these cycles, once you make the unconscious conscious, the weight lifts. That's the moment your soul begins to taste freedom. What happens when karmic debt remains unpaid? Jung warned us: it doesn't simply fade into the background. It festers. It waits. And then it strikes with precision, reshaping your life until you are forced to pay attention. You can see it in the man who drowns himself in alcohol, trying to silence the same inner wound that haunts every relationship. You can see it in the woman who works herself to exhaustion, chasing success as if more titles and money could silence her emptiness. These are not accidents. They are the psyche rebelling against neglect. Jung called this neurosis, the silent war between your conscious self and the unconscious forces you refuse to acknowledge. Ignore your karmic lessons long enough, and they manifest as depression, anxiety, failed relationships, endless crises that feel unfair. But they are not unfair. They are messages. Your soul does not punish you, it pushes you. It pushes you through pain, through chaos, through breakdowns, until you can no longer deny the truth: the debt must be faced. The choice is brutal but clear: resist, and suffer endlessly. Or listen, and begin the work of liberation. Sign 1. Emotional liberation versus emotional repression. For years, you may carry the ghosts of emotions you never dared to face: shame that wraps around your chest like chains, anger that burns in silence, guilt that whispers in the quiet hours of the night. This is repression. It poisons slowly. It bleeds into your choices, your relationships, your very sense of worth. Jung warned that what is repressed does not die, it hides, waiting to sabotage you. Repressed grief becomes bitterness. Repressed anger becomes self-destruction. Repressed fear becomes paralysis. And yet, there comes a moment, if you've done the inner work, when something astonishing happens, the weight slips off your shoulders. Not because you forced it away, but because it no longer needs to hold on. This is emotional liberation. Imagine thinking of the one who betrayed you, and instead of rage flooding your veins, you feel only stillness. Imagine recalling your greatest mistake, and instead of shame, you see wisdom carved into your story. That is not numbness. That is freedom. Jung described this as the unconscious releasing its projections. The old wounds stop bleeding into new experiences. The triggers that once controlled you lose their power. You no longer see enemies where there are none, nor carry the past like a prison sentence. How do you know your karmic debt is being paid? When the storm inside calms, not by denial, but by transformation. You integrate the shadow, and the shadow stops haunting you. The war within becomes a quiet peace. And in that peace, you finally begin to live, not as a victim of yesterday, but as the author of tomorrow. Sign 2. Synchronicities and the science of flow. There comes a point in the journey when life stops feeling like a battle against the current, and begins to move with you. Doors open where walls once stood. The right person appears at the exact moment you need them. A book falls into your hands, answering the question you've carried in silence. These are not accidents. Jung called them synchronicities, meaningful coincidences that reveal when your inner world is aligned with the outer one. Think of it this way, when karmic debt still weighs you down, your energy is fractured. You chase opportunities with desperation, force outcomes, and stumble against closed doors. But when that debt clears, your inner chaos dissolves, and suddenly, things click. Your psyche and the universe begin to speak the same language. Modern psychology calls this the flow state. Neuroscientists describe it as the moment when brainwaves harmonize, when effort feels effortless, when time itself bends around your focus. But Jung saw something even deeper. Synchronicity is the mirror of the soul finally aligned with truth. Imagine walking into a room and meeting someone who speaks the very words you needed to hear. Imagine taking a risk and discovering the timing is uncannily perfect. This is the universe whispering, you are where you're meant to be. But here's the warning, synchronicity cannot be forced. If you obsess over signs, you break the flow. The magic arises only when you surrender control and live authentically. The true sign your karmic debt is dissolving is when life stops resisting you. You're no longer surviving, you're gliding. The river doesn't drag you under anymore. It carries you forward. Sign 3. Breaking toxic cycles and generational karma. One of the clearest signs that karmic debt is dissolving is this: the patterns that once ruled your life no longer own you. The same relationships, the same betrayals, the same self-sabotage, suddenly, they lose their grip. You stop playing the same role in the same painful drama. Think about it. How many times have you said, "Why does this keep happening to me?" The answer, Jung insisted, is simple, because the shadow you refused to face demanded repetition. Until you bring it into the light, the unconscious keeps handing you the same lesson wrapped in different disguises. A cruel boss echoes a critical parent. A neglectful lover mirrors a childhood wound. The cycle repeats until you choose differently. But when karmic debt lifts, something profound shifts inside you. You no longer tolerate disrespect. You set boundaries, not with anger, but with clarity. Old triggers that once sent you spiraling now pass through you like smoke. Toxic people either transform or vanish, because you are no longer the same magnet you once were. And here's the deeper truth, many of these cycles are not just personal, they are generational. Families carry unhealed wounds across decades: addiction, violence, abandonment. When you break a cycle, you're not just healing yourself, you're ending a chain that could stretch into the future. Imagine the power in that. You become the one who refuses to hand pain down like an heirloom. You become the pivot point where the curse ends and the blessing begins. This is freedom, when your past stops scripting your future. When you no longer ask, "Why me?" but declare, "It ends with me." Sign 4. A shift from ego goals to soul purpose. Perhaps the most breathtaking sign that your karmic debt has been cleared is this: your definition of success changes. Where once you were driven by status, applause, or the endless chase for security, you now feel an undeniable pull towards something deeper, something that feeds the soul, not just the ego. Jung called this process individuation, the shedding of the false persona to uncover the self. It is the moment you realize that the ladder you've been climbing all these years is leaning against the wrong wall. You could reach the top, and still feel empty. But when karmic chains break, the hunger shifts. No longer do you ask, "How can I prove myself?" Instead, you ask, "What was I born to create, to give, to live for?" This doesn't mean abandoning ambition, it means transforming it. The artist locked inside finally demands expression. The healer within you begins to speak. The entrepreneur who once chased money begins building something that carries meaning. It may terrify you to walk away from the familiar, but the deeper terror is staying trapped in a life that isn't yours. And when you take that leap, synchronicities multiply. The right mentors appear. Resources show up at the exact time you need them. The path isn't always easy, but it feels true, undeniably, unshakably true. This is the mark of freedom, when your choices no longer revolve around pleasing others or silencing fears, but around honoring the voice of your own soul. That voice is not a whisper anymore. It's a calling. And answering it is the final proof that your karmic debt has been repaid. Sign 5. The return of creativity and play. When karmic debt dissolves, something extraordinary reawakens inside you, the spark of creativity and the freedom to play. For too long, the weight of old wounds suffocated this part of you. Survival left no room for imagination. You were too busy fighting shadows to dream of light. But once the debt is lifted, that lost energy returns, not as anxiety, but as inspiration. Jung believed imagination was the laboratory of the soul. He used active imagination to engage with the unconscious, to give voice to the parts of us we bury. And when healing takes place, creativity naturally resurfaces, not forced, but flowing. You suddenly find joy in painting, writing, music, or simply building something with your hands. Even laughter comes easier, as if life itself has regained color. This is not about becoming a professional artist. It's about reclaiming the child within, the part of you that once explored, invented, and dared to be curious. Trauma silences that child. Karma chains it. But liberation sets it free again. Science agrees. Neuroscience shows that creativity rebuilds neural pathways, heals trauma, and restores resilience. Every time you allow yourself to create or play, you're not wasting time, you're reprogramming your soul. So notice this shift. When you catch yourself doodling, daydreaming, or dancing without shame, don't dismiss it. That's not trivial, that's sacred. It's a sign your spirit has space again, that joy is no longer rationed, that you are no longer defined by wounds. The return of creativity and play is proof that life has given back what pain once stole from you. And in that rediscovery, you remember, you were never born only to endure, you were born to create, to express, and to live fully alive. When karmic debt is finally cleared, the reward is not perfection, it is freedom. Freedom from the loops that chained you, freedom from the ghosts that haunted you, freedom from the unconscious patterns that dictated your every choice. But what comes next is even more powerful: integration. Integration means you no longer live divided, pulled between who you pretend to be and who you truly are. The mask of the persona slips away, and the authentic self begins to lead. Jung reminded us, wholeness is not the absence of darkness, but the embrace of it. To integrate is to take every wound, every failure, every shadow, and weave it into the story of your becoming. This is the moment you stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start saying, "It happened for me. It shaped me. And now it fuels me." The pain is no longer the enemy, it is the teacher. The debt no longer drags you down, it becomes wisdom. Life after karmic debt feels different. You don't just survive, you create, you love, you choose with clarity. Synchronicities become companions, purpose becomes compass, and joy becomes natural. But remember, integration is not an endpoint. It is a way of living. A daily practice of authenticity, a constant return to the self. And in that practice, you discover the greatest truth of all: freedom is not given, it is claimed. So claim it. Live beyond the debt. Let your scars remind you not of what broke you, but of what you overcame. Because in the end, the heaviest debts, once paid, become the very foundation of your strength. If what you've heard today resonated with your journey, don't let it end here. Share in the comments, what sign of karmic freedom have you felt in your own life? Your story might be the spark that helps someone else recognize their transformation. And if you're ready to keep walking this path of self-discovery, make sure you hit like and subscribe. This channel is here to give you not just theory, but the psychological and spiritual tools to liberate your soul. Because in our very next video, we're diving into one of Carl Jung's most haunting warnings: why intelligent people step back from society. Why do some of the brightest minds withdraw from the world, and what hidden truth does that reveal about the way society operates? Don't miss it. It could change the way you see not just yourself, but the entire world around you. Until then, remember this: karmic debt is never the end of your story. It is the preparation for a deeper, freer life. And that life begins the moment you choose to live beyond the debt.